Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining my Facebook Live and DOPE CFO. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. We are recording this as well. Today, we're going to talk kind of about the old school methods for really finding clients and even serving them versus new school. I'm going to before I jump into I've got kind of a list of topics. And if you want to, feel free to chat and ask questions as I go. It's hard just to talk with no one asking back. So yeah, please jump in. I'll tell a little bit about my story at first. I was in Big Four public accounting for several years, was an audit manager, and then in 2000 was CFO for about 10 years of some big oil and gas companies. And then in 2010, I kind of went out on my own. So I've had a good mix of public accounting, industry, and then serving clients on my own as a CFO for about 10 years now as well. So kind of have the full range of experiences. And I think the idea I came up for this topic is I've definitely done everything the wrong way as far as, especially in the client business, and learning many new ways over time. And there are methods that work better than others. And so when I came out in 2010, we actually had a really very successful exit of one of our startups to a S&P 500 company. That allowed my wife and I to move to Oregon, where we used to vacation to actually, and have been here ever since. When I came out here, I was a CFO, and so I joined a national group called B2B CFOs that was extremely expensive group, and really I just wanted to kind of be part of a group. It's hard to be on your own. When I was in Big Four, I always had a team at my back. I had experts in everything from tax to operations to accounting to really, technology. Whatever question I had or a client had, I could get an answer. And so I wanted to be part of that network. It turned out that was a lot of marketing materials, and you really weren't in a network. We actually didn't even have a private group to network in. You could send people emails, but it just never really took traction with me. So I was only in that a couple of years. But I remember a lot of their methodology that they were teaching as well were some more old school things of just, so for example, I would go have coffee endlessly with them, not even other accountants so much, but other service providers. So it could be bankers, attorneys, insurance providers, wealth planners. And I would find more often than not, over 10 years, I have gotten leads from attorneys and whatnot, or a wealth provider, but they were very few and far between. And there was just a lot of luck. And so whether you have a niche or you don't have a niche, if you go that route, there is, like, the more hours you put into it, if you spend 20 hours a week, yeah, maybe you'll get a client quicker. But I think there's a lot of luck involved as well. And so I would go out and spend that time and get frustrated with the whole process. And so it wasn't until, and I'll go ahead and throw this one out right now. So I kind of categorized this topic into 5 areas: finding a prospect, the first meeting, after the first meeting, then once they're a client service, and then finally keeping clients. So I'll cover each of those topics. So the first part about finding prospects, I think the very first thing, even before you do anything, it's actually how you set your practice up. And so going back to the 80s and 90s, I think every single firm, from Price Waterhouse down to national firms, down to regional firms, down to one-person firms, almost everybody, whether you were a bookkeeper, a CPA, an EA, doesn't matter, were generalists. You would just take whatever client you could get. You would work in any industry, and kind of the approach of, oh, accounting is accounting, I can do it all. And yes, that does work, but it's very challenging. So I spent 10 years in oil and gas. Oil and gas is extraordinarily complex niche of accounting. It's been around for 40 years. It took me a long, long time to actually learn it and get a handle on this as well. And now, not to brag or anything, but I have a very good accounting base. I was straight A accounting. I got actually won the award for the highest score in the state of Oklahoma on the CPA exam. I got I think a 99 in the accounting section and a 98 on the tax section. So I have a very strong base in just general accounting. But that said, I felt like a fraud for about 4 or 5 years in oil and gas because it was so complex. Just the structures of deals and the back ends and working interests and the way they structure things was very complicated. And so it took me a long time to learn that. Then when I moved to Oregon, there was no oil and gas here. So I instantly had 10 years of experience. I was an expert in that niche, but it was hard to build a remote practice at the time. And we didn't have all the tools we have today. And so I basically quit serving that niche, even though I was then an expert, just because I lived in the wrong place. And so I got into what was out here. Bend, Oregon's a very hotbed area of high-tech startups. Many people out of Silicon Valley vacation in my hometown. And so lots of them have second homes here. They moved here. They set up a Bend Venture Conference. So there are lots and lots of high-tech companies here. There still are. So I got very active in the high-tech space. Again, software and high-tech has its own set of issues. I also landed a medical pharmaceutical chemical company, and I knew absolutely nothing about that. Again, felt a little bit like a fraud. I actually I was hired to help them get to an exit. It ended up being a 4-year job, and we helped them do many things in that thing. But while I was participating, it was very complex because it was trying to learn their niche. They had contracts that were over 200 pages long, and trying to figure out how to recognize revenue was very difficult in that industry. So they had 2 founders, both PhDs, and they had 1 board member who funded the company. So there were 3 of them, all PhD chemists. And so I'd go into the board meetings with them and be completely lost on what they were talking about. And chemistry was never my strong suit, or science. But anyway, to get back, so the very first thing on finding old school versus new school is becoming a specialist. That, I think, is fairly common knowledge today. When I joined another marketing program in 2014, that was basically what I paid for. I was told, pick a niche and become an expert, and all niches are the same. That was very valuable to me because I did it and it worked. And I was like, wow. It not only made finding clients easier, it made serving clients better and made my practice more enjoyable. So I picked the cannabis industry way back then when it was still very, very small, a lot more risky, not nationwide. It was just in Oregon, Washington, Colorado. And so it was a little bit scary picking that niche. And I think I got lucky just because I happened to be in Oregon and get into a niche that was exploding. In that group, this other group with thousands of accountants, many people were getting in there and debating daily, are all niches created equal? I picked hair salons, or I picked realtors, or whatever. So again, this is before you even do anything. The very first step is pick a niche and become an expert. And we'll actually expand on that, a VIP, which is more than an expert. But if you do that wrong, if you pick the wrong niche, you are going to fight an uphill battle in your entire career. Yes, you can pick hair salons, or you can pick retail furniture stores, or whatever you want to pick. But if you pick the wrong niche, you're probably going to fight an uphill battle. You can still build success. It may take you 10 years instead of 3. It just could be a longer track. So I tell people, make sure you pick a good niche. That is the number one new school versus old school idea. And when you pick a niche, make sure the average mom and pop revenues of the average client you're going to get, because none of us are Price Waterhouse or Deloitte Touche. We are small providers. So you want to make sure your average client down the street is a 7-figure business. If they're not 7 figures, you're going to struggle making the high fees and building a 6-figure practice with just a few clients. So, for example, Bend, Oregon, we have 80,000 people, 20 dispensaries. We're very small. Dispensary is very competitive, but I had 6-figure client right here in a 1,500 square foot building because, yes, they were making in the mid 7-figure revenues, and they could pay, and it was actually a very reasonable solution. If you can get a client with 2 to 10 million in revenues and they're paying you 100 to 200 grand a year to do their accounting, that's way cheaper than them normally a multi-million-dollar business with 50 employees is going to have a controller, maybe a couple accounting staff, benefits, all that, paying several $100,000. So we can still come in and make six figures and save them a ton of money. So very, very important. Pick a niche, pick a good niche. So that was first criteria. Your average client in the industry, high revenues. Cannabis and hemp CBD. If you don't like cannabis, hemp CBD is legal nationwide, and that is growing faster than cannabis right now. 19,000 new companies this year alone. They all need complicated accounting, and they're all going to be seven-figure capitalized businesses, whether it's farming, processing. So farming and processing are very capital intensive businesses. They need big capital behind them. Dispensaries, same deal, big capital businesses. So make sure that's good. Make sure the industry is growing and exciting. You want to have a fast growing, rapid industry like, it could be craft brew. It could be other things than cannabis or CBD, but cannabis and CBD certainly fits that bill. It's the number one growing industry in the world and in the US. And you really get two industries for the price of one. The third thing is you want to make sure CEOs are very easy to find. So CEOs in say dentists, that's one thrown around a lot as a great niche. Dentists are, of course, everywhere. They make a ton of money, so they'd be great clients to have, but they are very hard to find. Dentists and doctors both. They like to keep their information confidential and private, so you will have trouble finding them. Make sure they're easy to find. Cannabis, hemp, CBD, luckily there are events, groups, online, real world, everywhere, every big city, small cities, every state, super easy to find. They're in the press, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Facebook, they're everywhere. So that's another one. The fourth other biggie, make sure it's not overserved. So again, dentists, majorly overserved by accountants. I tried myself very shortly to go into dental niche before I went to cannabis. It's very, very hard to get in. They've already got experts serving them. Good luck if you want to try that one. So anyway, Sandhya saying, CEO, some people have no success. People who are finding success, what are they doing from each other? So first of all, and I'm going to say this from the get-go, whether you're in our program, whether you're not in our program, whether you've picked a niche, whether you've not picked a niche, if you want to build a firm, whether it's accounting, bookkeeping, CPA, CFO, or even plumbing or electrician, it's a multi-year process. So the first step is time. Some people have more luck and effort and energy, and certainly with our program, we give them lots of great ideas, and we have people that are wildly successful. I have students in our program that have 5x'd my business within 6 months. I had several years, and so I've watched people go right past me, which is awesome. I've seen one student in the last couple of weeks land with her very first email, a six-figure client, and save the client a lot of money. So there is a luck piece and effort piece. So of course, if you send out one email a day to a CEO versus sending 20 out a day, you'll probably have higher success. So the more effort you put into it, the more luck will be on your side eventually. But again, we are planting seeds for a multi-year, and I'm going to get into that again with this VIP and a niche. So the idea of becoming a VIP is the secret sauce between finding clients and serving them well. So VIP is valuable expert, instructor, participant. Some niches you can't really participate, like it's hard to participate again in the dental niche, but cannabis is more than a niche, it's a movement, so is hemp CBD. It's very, very easy to participate, get involved in groups, networks. You can instruct easily just in your hometown or on webinars. You can actually host events. You can put on events for CEOs who are thinking about forming a CBD company, or you can go to events. You can speak at them. You can speak at podcasts. We have many, many students doing this successfully. Again, VIP starts on day one. Once you pick your niche, you grow your knowledge and expertise and your participation every day and every month. And so year one is all about planting seeds and getting your face out there and going to your first events and doing things. Years 2 and 3, that grows exponentially. If you do this right by year 3, and by the way, we do not a single student in year 3 other than me. By year 3, you should no longer have to find clients. They will find you. And when they find you, you have the best of everything, because they found you because you are a VIP. And when they call you, you can say, look, I'm a VIP. I don't even take new clients. If you want me, it's going to cost you a fortune because I'm the best at what I do. And you'd be surprised at what they say. You flip the whole process, and it's very, very good. So first step is becoming a VIP. And second step is you're building a business, and building any business takes time. So again, we had a post today, a guy's trying everything. He's not had a luck landing a client yet in our group. He's on month 4, I believe. Month 4, even year 1, there's no guarantee. Within year 1, we have had some people that have not had a client. We've had people that have had 20 clients. So there's many, many pieces of the puzzle. We've got them listed on our program. Step 1, though, is becoming a VIP, being very active. And the more active you are, both within our group and without of it, the quicker you will succeed. But again, it does take time to build any business. Same if you're a plumber. You start your business today. You know what? In my town, every single plumber I call, they're swamped. You can't even get booked with them. They're too busy. But if I started a plumbing business tomorrow, it would probably take me time to get clients. My wife started a bedding business in Bend, Oregon. It's in year 6 now. She's actually sold it to her lady that worked there at this point, but it's finally got real traction. But it took year 1 and 2. We had a couple of weeks where 2 people walked through the door. So building a business takes time. People that want to buy any program, ours or others, and get rich quick, it might happen, but it doesn't always happen that way. So going back to step 1, becoming a VIP, that's crucial. It's going to be the long-term success of your business. So when you get out to year 3, 4, 5, you are going to be an expert. And we talk about an expert and participant. You are known, you know about accounting, you know about tax, you know about operations, you know about what products are made, you know about insurance, you know the software, you know the politics, you know everything because you spent that time every day. And so what that does is several things. First off, it's going to bring clients to you. Secondly, it gets you so much more confident when you're talking to new prospects. You have a stronger mindset, and you can be confident that, yeah, you know what's going on, and you know more than your CEO may know more than you about product or brand, but you know more than them about the accounting and the industry and the tax. And so but you also know about their niche. You can talk to them. So for example, in Canvas, you can talk to them about the vape crisis, or you can talk to them about a POS system, Greenbits versus FlowHub, or the insurance issues, or whatever it is, or the new states that are coming online, or the new banking act. You can talk about those things and they get it, that you're an expert. So it adds to that confidence piece, which is crucial. And then finally, it allows us to keep what we call the alpha role, which we keep from day 1. And we know, again, when I would go into this old school, I would go meet with the client at their location. I'd let them treat me like an employee. And if you set the wrong tone on day 1, the first call, the first meeting, whatever, it will last forever in that relationship. So we've seen that a couple of times, and we strongly discourage that. So again, finding prospects, some of the old school methods, being a generalist. You might have a fancy website. You spend all this time on business cards, brochures, your website. You go have coffee with all these different people. Service providers, you maybe try to find a way into a company through the controller or the marketing guy or the COO. And so that's all kind of the old school ways. What I would say new school, we talked about, number 1 is becoming the VIP, because eventually that means you won't find prospects, they'll find you. Instead of websites, we'll use LinkedIn. You can easily have a LinkedIn. Everyone shares that. Everyone's on it. And you can put, what's good about LinkedIn, it's like an interactive resume. You can put your resume there, but you can also put testimonials. You can put other work you've done. You can put articles or posts. So you can utilize that and quickly, cost very little to have that as your website, and you don't have to maintain a big website. Eventually, you can add a website, but it's not a requirement. We connect, again, only with CEOs. And again, this was new to me. I would think, okay, I want to go find clients. I'm in Bend, Oregon. I need to go have coffee with the banker, instead of just, there was lots of great companies in Bend, Oregon. If I was just going to focus only on this little town, I could have just reached out to CEOs. I could have read an article on one and reached out, but I didn't. In this day and age, we only connect with CEOs. We find the CEO's email, we email them directly. We let them book a call with us. We do not talk to their second in command or their third command. Again, that sets the wrong tone on day one. If they want us as a service provider, we've got to talk directly with the CEO. And so all these new methods around how we do it, how we reach out, so we become a VIP in that niche. And so as we are doing those pieces, we're finding prospects for, instead of having a coffee with a referral, like for example, my niche is cannabis. So in Bend, Oregon, there's an organization called ORCA, Oregon Retailers and Cannabis Association. They had an ORCA meeting, and I went to that. Instead of having coffee with one person, there was 45 people there. 40 of them were CEOs in cannabis, and I was one of the 5 non-CEOs there. So that was a great event for me to go to, just to help become my VIP. And I actually got to get up and speak to them a little bit about tax issues, because I was the only accountant in the room. So again, there's many ways you can actually find these CEOs. So if you picked your niche, you can connect with them online in Facebook, LinkedIn. You can read articles about them. You can attend events. You can put on events. Many, many ways to find them. Once you find them, you've of course got to get your find their CEO's email. There are services such as hunter.io, which you can find emails. I still find, and I don't waste more than 5 minutes finding a CEO's email, unless I really want to get a hold of them. I can usually connect on LinkedIn. That's another way I can message them. But more often than not, their first name at their website. So if you email Joe's the CEO and you email Joe at whatever their company website is, so if it's weed.com, it'd be Joe at weed.com. Email will usually work at least half the time for me. And so I will try that first off to see if that email works to get with the CEO. So let me check emails. Sandia, I'm going to, any questions specifically to our training program, VIP, please put in the AFC group, and we're going to focus just on the live on old school versus new school methods here on this call. So the first meeting, again, this is super important. The way I used to do this, since again, what didn't work remote, I never even occurred to me. I thought, oh, I can only serve clients in my city, which has 80,000 people. And so I would always say, hey, can we come meet? Can I come out to your location? First of all, it's hard to schedule, and sometimes they get canceled. I've even been to places to meet at coffee that the other person didn't show up. Talk about wasting your time. And I was limited to my city. I would always go to them. So right off the bat, I'm spending my time to go to them, and it's just showing them that they're the boss. They've got the company. They're in charge of this whole deal. And then once I was there, the first question out of their mouth often is, what's your price? And they'd be putting a lot of pressure on you. And it's hard to sit there in the hot seat in their office and their location and say, oh, wait a minute, I want to send you an email or whatever about our price. It's very, very hard. What I do now, again, and also one other thing, at old school, I would do this all the time. They would allow me to focus on myself, and they would love that. They would love to just ask me questions about me. What do I know? What's my expertise? Going over my resume, how long have I been in their niche or whatever. And so I'd just be on the hot seat, either bragging about what I've done or defending what I can do. So again, our first meeting is completely different. We send an email to a CEO in our niche, and because we know our niche cold, we know exactly what the pain points of our CEOs in our niche around cash, banking, tax, 280E, software. So we can real quickly design an email It says, hey, look, have you seen this? For example, a couple of weeks ago in MJ Daily, there was an article about IRS is really ramping up to come in and audit, or some more cases the IRS is winning against cannabis CEOs. So we put an email out with valuable information that's designed to make them think twice about who they're working with now, because 9 out of 10 cannabis companies do not have the correct accounting or tax solution. They're doing things completely wrong. So we send an email. We have a book a call button right on our signature, and we say, you're welcome to book a call with us. And so that's all we do. Send that email. They can book a call or not. If they book a call on my calendar and we call them, I take control of the meeting from step one. I say, hey, Mr. CEO, I've got to ask you some questions. I'm going to get some generic information, and then we'll go from there. A lot of times CEOs can be very assertive, and they want to say, hold on, tell me what you know about 280E, or what's your price, or whatever. I say, Mr. CEO, look, this industry is brand new. I get 8 out of 10 people trying to connect with me that are tire kickers, that absolutely have no interest in my services. And so I need to ask you questions first to see if you even fit within my framework. If you do that, yes, we'll get to all your questions later. And so I flip it. If they still are belligerent, I won't even take the call. I'll say, really, I don't have time for this. If you want, I can help you. We are the best at what we do. If not, I'm going to let you go. And so I will keep control. I will not let them have control. I can ask, so in our program, we've got 20 to 30 questions, both cannabis and non-cannabis. I've got it down to where I can do it in 5 minutes or less, really, maybe 10. And just asking very big questions. What niches, what verticals are you in within cannabis? How many entities do you have? What's your forward revenues for the next year? I love that question because they love to brag about their revenues, and they don't know that I'm going to be billing my offer based on this number. So they'll often say, oh yeah, we're going to do 10 million this year or whatever. Great. That's all I need to know. How many employees do you have? What's your payroll size? How many physical locations? How many states you're in, if that's applicable. And that's it. I'm done. I can send my offer. I don't need to do anything else. So I'll ask those questions. I will, after those questions, again, since me and most all accountants I talk to hate sales, and I do too, and a little bit introverted, I say, Mr. CEO, I've asked you some questions. I know we can help you. I'm going to send you over a offer letter and proposal and a summary of our value that we offer you. And it's going to be a long list of things that we do for you that your competition is not. It's going to explain our price, how we work, why we're different from our competition, and exactly why our price is high, because we're the best. After that, you can also click into my LinkedIn to look at all my resume, and from there, we can answer any questions. And so I end the call with just that simple statement. We're going to send this information to you, and we send it an hour later. It's all pre-written. We send an offer email. Again, it's all based on deliverables. Here are the things we're going to do to you, Mr. CEO. I don't care what you tell me you want, because I know what you want. You want more cash in your pocket. You want lower taxes. You want rock solid financials that are available anytime, all the time for your management, your investors, your lenders, your auditors, your exiters, your acquirers, whatever. I know what you want. You want peace of mind, so you don't have to worry about risk. So those are all deliverables. We tell them that's what you'll get. It does not matter. Again, old school was, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you, how many hours I'm going to work for you, and my price per hour. We don't care about that. We care about what we're going to get done for you. That's in our offer email. We attach that with a value summary that says, here's all the things we do for the cannabis CEO, starting with data entry through cost accounting, through 280E, through tax planning, through end of month processes, through cash rolling forecasts and other deliverables. And it's about 25, 30 things. It may even include payroll, HR work, compliance, whatever we want to add into that. It's a long list. It's way more than our competitors do. And that explains why our price is so high. And we should tell them that right up front. We are high priced, and we also only work remote. You will never see us in person ever. So right from the get-go, we've had this very simple, quick process. Find a CEO, one email, 10-minute call. We send them a written offer letter that explains our cost, our value, our proposition, and then they get to take it or leave it. We don't do second meetings, follow-up meetings, any of that stuff, or talk to their spouse or their investors or go to meet them in person. We do it this way because we want to play very hard to get, play alpha, that we know we're confident in what we do, and that's why it's high price, so we don't need to justify further than that. We encourage them to, we don't waste their time, we don't let them waste our time because we're super busy. So a couple things this process does, it makes your time high ROI. You can go out and find your different CEOs in different ways. You can, and then you can do this process super quick, so you don't waste literally less than 30 minutes on any one prospect that you actually talk to on the phone. And then you can find out if you get a client or not from that. If they accept, and now I'll say, I'm going to flip back to old school, because here's another thing we used to do. We'd go meet with the CEO or whatever, or even email, and then we'd go back and forth and we'd talk to their investors, and then they'd say, well, we got this tax issue, how would you do that? Or then we look at their tax returns, we'd review QuickBooks, we do free work basically, which again is telling them, so you are implying to them that your time is not valuable and you're willing to work for free. You're willing to do anything to just get them as a client. So we never do free work ever. Another point I just brought up, the word we always use the word we and not I, and you should have a team at your back, whether you're in our program or not. You need that team. And so before we had DOPE CFO, I had a couple of bookkeepers I partnered with because I don't do bookkeeping. I had a couple of tax preparers because I also don't do tax prep. And so you always want to offer the CEO full service. So if your offer letter is not full service, again, I used to do this, I'd show up and I'd say, hey, I'm this great CFO. I do not do bookkeeping. I'm not a controller. I don't do tax planning and I don't do tax prep. I'm just a great CFO. They would say, well, that's awesome. I need everything you just listed except a CFO. And they would push me away. It's much, much easier to tell your CEOs that you do everything. You are in charge of accounting and your team, and they don't need to worry about it. They can sleep at night. They don't need to worry about whether it's tax planning, but you need to make sure you have those resources. So if you're like me and you don't do tax prep, you better make sure you have a partner that can do tax prep the way you want it and tax planning for your clients. So within our group, that's awesome. We have several hundred of every skill set: bookkeepers, CPA, CFOs, tax preparers, tax experts, EAs, MBAs, even a couple of attorneys. And you can find your team. And then if you also have a network where you can get a question, because you're going to have questions both around finding clients and serving them. And so as those questions come up, if you have a community that's active that you can ask a question. For example, I asked a question in our group, who's used FlowHub? I've got a client that wants to know about FlowHub. Tell me your experiences with FlowHub. And I'll get 7 answers that day. That's awesome. That adds value. And you can say we and just imply that, yes, this is you and a group of valuable experts at your back. So you are serving that client the same way Pricewaterhouse would. It's not just you, yourself, and I, and the limited knowledge you may or may not have. So we definitely do that. Again, we explain our deliverables, what we get done versus what we do. Another great thing about having this high-priced list of services and very alpha whole process, we weed out the tire kickers, the crappy clients, the people that think accounting is just a commodity and has no value. That's awesome. I get rid of those people so quickly, often before even the phone call. I can usually tell if somebody's in that mindset. So that's another thing that really helps us. Again, we let them know after this first meeting in our offer letter, we only work remote. We do not just set up a standard recurring meeting. A lot of CEOs will try to do that. It's like, let's call every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and do a call just on whatever, catch up. That having meetings for meeting's sake is totally worthless. If a client needs help on a new software, a project, or understanding financials or whatever, yes, let's meet, let's list an agenda, let's cover it quickly and move on. But let's not just have generic meetings for meeting's sake. So that's after our first meeting. If that all works and we get a client and they send, the first thing we're going to do is send our engagement letter. And again, it's going to lay out exactly what we're going to do, and it's deliverables. It has nothing to do with time and what they're going to pay. And by the way, they're going to pay us on the first every month. They can fire us at the end of any month. It's not long-term contract. We work month to month, but they take the risk month to month, not us. So they pay us and hope we do the work, but we do the work because we're the best. And if we don't, they can fire us, but we get paid, get our retainer, and we work not at their location, but at our location. We're also not, and we lay this out in the engagement letter, we're not an employee, an agent, we're not a management team. We handle accounting. We do not listen to them on how we should do accounting. We also don't say, there's like, well, I just want you to do this, and I'm going to have my other tax guy do this for me. That rarely works, because what you'll find, you'll start battling with the other service provider. We like to own accounting from start to finish because it saves us time from having to battle other service providers. And I've seen myself and many others do that. We also let them know in the engagement letter that we have a very high expectation. We have a very big PBC list of things they need to get us on before we get started. We bill them month in and month out, even if they're slow to get us the PBC list. And so we have very high expectations that are set at the CEO, and they get it. That's the other great thing about billing a high fee. If these CEOs are paying you $5 to $10 grand a month, they're not going to be okay if you need invoices from Sally over at CEO and she hadn't scanned and uploaded them. They're going to be mad at Sally or Joe. And so we use the CEO as our contact. If we're not getting what we need, we CC the CEO and let them know that is absolutely a requirement for us to do world-class service, is that what we need out of them. It's not much what we need out of them, but the things we need, we have to have them. So that's kind of how we serve our clients, and we just get in. And as far as keeping clients once we have them, the old school, a lot of people and myself, it was all about putting out their fires. And all these other things we set at the top build. And so if we don't have those high expectations, we're not ever getting what we need. We're behind the eight ball. We are putting out fire mode. We're not doing world-class service. We're letting them call the shots on how accounting should be run and not us. And so the way we keep clients is very simple. We have world-class systems and processes, everything from onboarding through cleanup, through day-to-day, through month-end, cost accounting, tax planning, financials, rolling cash forecast. We have all that rock solid, and exactly the timing each month of who does what and when. And then also layered onto that, our VIP knowledge and team behind our back, where we can answer any question anytime that any possible cannabis CEO would have. And so we give them that service and they get it. They're happy. They're not only happy to keep paying us, they know that every quarter we're going to be telling them we're raising the fee as they grow. So that's another beauty of being a VIP. You can actually have your client load go down and your total revenues go up, and your stress level and time spent go down. It's a very good position to be in. So we did that partially in last year, where we cut our client load in half but doubled our revenues. So you can have that grow. You can grow with the same clients, and you don't need 50 clients. You can have a great practice in the mid six figures with 3 to 5 clients. So that's another benefit of being the VIP. So I think I hit all of my stuff in 40 minutes. I talk way too long. Okay, we have a message there. What's your closing percentage and what volume are you soliciting? So Boyd, I don't solicit anybody. So again, if you do VIP right, you quit. All the marketing ideas in our program for meeting CEOs and attending events, you don't need to do it anymore because they're finding you. So they email me every week, and the response they get is, I'm not taking more clients, which is actually true. I refer them into our network in our program. And so when somebody does, the last 2 clients I did take, which was about a year ago, both of them I tried to push away. They were both very small, pretty simple. One was one single entity farm with 3 employees. And he was a super nice guy. I was like, I'm busy. I'm not taking any more clients. And And so as far as closing percentage, it was 100% once they call you because they want you. And you try to push them away. You say, there's a waiting list. I'm too busy. I can hook you up with someone else. And they're just like, I really would love it if you, I'm willing to pay whatever. That's the whole phone call. We're not even talking about anything else. And then I sent back to them. I said, our fee is $5,000. He sent a check. He was always literally first day of the month, never an issue with payment, super easy because it was one entity. And that's how it is with the closing percent. Now, if you're reaching out, again, the more things you're doing on the VIP, the easier your closing percentage is going to be, because you're going to be out there talking to more people. And some of it there, no matter what anyone says in any program or whatever, no program, there is always a little bit of luck. Of course, luck favors the prepared, the people that put in the work. So for example, I have a student, Sandy, who has just slaughtered it from every angle. So first of all, she came in on day one, and within 3 months, she was speaking at a massive, major national cannabis event, which shocked me. She emailed me like, hey, how do I, didn't even get all the steps of the program yet, but she just quickly started putting her work out there. And I asked her, I was like, how are you doing this? She's like, well, I work 25 hours a day, 7 days a week. So she was really, really hard worker. She was following exactly our program. So she was getting out there, not only speaking at national events, she started putting on her own events. So she put on her own events. She was in New York, in Oklahoma. She got 250 CEOs at her own all day long event. So I wonder how many people she closed out of that event. Probably a lot. Now, that said, someone else may be doing less work and have a lower percentage. At the other end of the spectrum, again, I had a student last week, sent her very first email, landed a six-figure, $10,000 a month client with one email to a single dispensary in Massachusetts doing $7 million in sales. So her closing rate was 100%. Other people, it takes more time. It depends who you hit when. And so I don't think there's an exact answer to that, whether it's our program, others, any niche or not niche. Of course, your closing percentage will go up if you're doing these things I talked about. You've got to have a good email to the CEO around their pain points that entices them to get on the phone with you. You've got to have a good process for your phone call. You've got to have a good offer letter. If your offer letter makes sense and explains clearly your value proposition and why your price is well below your value proposition, that's going to help you close. But if you don't do those things, it's going to be harder. I'll make sure I didn't get any more questions, everybody. Hopefully this was helpful. Trying to let everyone know things that I did mostly all the wrong ways and now doing them the right ways. And again, every year that goes by is easier. I'm only in year 5 right now. Year 3 was super easy. I didn't need to look for clients. And it gets easier every year. And it's just like the higher my VIP status goes up, because I just know more and more and more about it, even within our group. Daily, we're sharing great knowledge. And the more that knowledge and VIP status goes up, the easier it is to find potential clients. Because and also on the back end of that, the better, like, I can serve clients in this space so well now because I know pretty much everything, and I've got that group and team at my back. And so I'm just super confident that I can do the best job. That keeps clients. And oh, by the way, we all know the ultimate advertising is word of mouth from happy clients. That's what happens. So same in our CFO program, we were talking about that today. We're getting more and more testimonials from people in other groups talking about us that I'm seeing without asking someone for a testimonial, because we are helping students build a good firm, a long-term firm, and doing a good job. You do a good job for your customers, they will repay you with word of mouth. So that, I would say, that's an old school method at the very end, and word of mouth always works. It always has and always will. I guess I'm going to end it here because no more questions, but thank you everyone for showing up.